Hey everyone! I just wanted to do an intro to this video because a few months back I was asked to speak about grief. A topic I don't like to go into very often because I can never get through the full live without crying. That's why you'll see me crying on this. I wanted to do it because somebody asked me to do it. I cover an awful lot of topics on my lives and I tell people my story very openly on how I went from a very dark place to the person that I am today, who helps thousands of people become the person that they want to be happier, to be healthier, to be wealthier, to have the best relationships and attract the best relationships. So I really hope that you enjoy this video and I really hope that it will help somebody to move them forward on their journey. If you like this video, make sure you subscribe, hit the bell so that you can get all of the notifications every time I put up a video. I hope you like it. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So I'm going to talk about something today that hopefully it comes out in the right way. Everybody's going to have a different view on it and I can only speak from my experience. So anything that I talk about, I draw down from personal experience and I can only tell you about my journey through whatever topic I'm talking about. So somebody messaged me a few weeks ago and said, Jenny, is there any way you could talk about grief? And I said, yeah, I can, but I had to prepare myself because it's not something that I like to talk about. It's not a space that I like to sit in. And a huge part of my transformation was coming from a place of massive grief. Huge, overwhelming, strangling, suffocating grief. And so it's not something that I want to sit in. And even though that's where my transformation came from, that's not what I wanted to help people with. I didn't want to help people understand the sadness. I wanted to help people get happy like I got happy. I wanted to help people to understand that there's a path back from that sad, suffocating place where you're just feeling that overwhelming heaviness of grief. There is a place back. That's what I wanted to teach people, and that's what I am teaching people. That's why I teach self-confidence. That's why I teach self-image, because it's all related. So when I talk about grief, it's very different for everybody. And the one thing that people think about when they think about grief is a death. Grief isn't about death. Not only about death. Grief is about loss. Grief is about losing somebody that you wanted to have in your life. Grief is about not being able to understand an emotion that completely consumes you as a person. And it takes an awful long time to come back from grieving. Because first, you have to sit in it. You have to go through the pain. You then have to accept it as if it's part of your day, so that you can find a way to carry on. If you don't accept it, then you're always going to be living on the hamster wheel of, oh my God, I can't get over this feeling. Oh my God, this feeling is too much. I'm so sad. You will always feel like that. I'm not saying that it's going to be easy to get over somebody, something. But until you understand it and accept it and say, it's okay, I can feel this. It's okay to feel this. Because I came and grew up through a generation where you couldn't really cry. And if you were crying, you were told, shut up. Stop crying. Stop whinging. So it's very hard to understand what emotions you're allowed to show and what emotions you have to hide. But when you're grieving, you can't hide it. It comes out of every single pore of your body. You don't want to be around anyone, but you don't want to be alone. You don't want the silence because the silence is crippling and deafening, but you don't want the chatter. You don't want to be sad, but being happy you feel guilty. It's a very strange place to be in. Now, if it's a loved one that has passed, there's a different grief. If it's someone that's still here but you can't be with them, or they can't be part of your life for a reason, that's a different kind of grief. But some people will feel it as if it's a loss or a death. And you can't determine what's right and what's wrong when you talk about grief. You can't tell somebody, well, this is what I felt and this is what's right. Because you can't feel their pain. You don't know what they have lost. And you certainly don't know to the level that they've lost it. Because we all build images in our heads. We all have this image of our life and how it's meant to be. But sometimes it doesn't work out like that. So I always make reference to a sculpture that I saw in a park. I saw a picture of a sculpture in a park. And this sculpture was designed and created by somebody who had lost a child. And I didn't lose a child as in I've had miscarriages, so I've felt loss on that level. I've lost people out of my life that I loved, so I've understand grief and sorrow on that level. I've lost grandparents. I know sorrow and grief on that level. And I've lost a parent. I know grief on that level. But this sculpture, for me, at the time when I was going through my biggest and hardest lesson on grief, I saw the sculpture. And I stopped and I stared and I cried. Now, at the time, I was crying a lot anyway, so it wouldn't have taken an awful lot for me to cry. I stopped and I stared. This sculpture was of a figure sitting on a bench, a park bench. And I would imagine it was a cast iron or something like that. And there was nothing from here to here in their stomach, in their chest. It was a hole. So what you could see was this image the sculpture sitting on a bench, and you could see straight through to the other side, to the field on the other side. And I remember saying to somebody, before I ever saw this, all I can explain is that there's a hole after being blown between my throat and my stomach. And all of here was empty. An emptiness that I still don't ever want to feel again. Grief is an emptiness. It's a loss. It doesn't matter in what form you lose somebody, it's a loss. It's an emptiness. Your face could smile, but you can't feel it. You're just hurting on a level that you've never felt before. And the hurt continues over and over and over and over again. And then you get tiny little snippets where you kind of feel a little bit, oh, what's this? What's this feeling? I feel a bit different. And then the whole thing comes tumbling down on top of you again. Grief is one of the hardest places to sit. And until you felt it on a level where you even can resonate with me, you're probably thinking, okay. But for anybody who has felt it on that level, you will know what I'm talking about. And when I saw that sculpture of the hole blown in that person's chest, I just thought, I have never seen anything or read anything that had aligned to what I was feeling like this sculpture. Never. I couldn't feel, I couldn't breathe, I couldn't stop crying, I couldn't talk, I couldn't eat. I lost a huge amount of weight. I didn't feel hungry. I just felt sad. I just felt loss. I just felt broken. I just felt empty. And when you're looking around you and you can see the people that you know can help you or want to help you, but they can't help you, you don't even know what to do. You're constantly saying thanks. People say, I'm here for you if you need me. Thanks. Thanks. But your head is going, the fuck does that even mean? You're here for me if I want you to. I don't even know what I want. I don't even understand what I feel. You can't help me because I can't help me. And this is the part that I want to get at. You are the only person that can get you out of that hole. You're the only person. No amount of praying or cups of tea or hugs or phone calls or texts are going to get you out of that hole. Until the day that you decide, okay, I need to move in a different direction. How do you do it? Acceptance. This is what I've been served. This is where I am. And you need to become best friends with your loneliness. Because until you can speak to your loneliness like it's a best friend, it's going to cripple you every single time. I remember sitting on my bed one evening and I was trying to meditate and my head was very, very busy, very busy. I'm going to push through this emotion now because I just need to get this out. I sat on my bed and I decided that I was going to meditate because I knew if I didn't start to focus and if I didn't start to be present and if I didn't start to understand what the fuck was going on inside of me and how I was supposed to escape this loneliness, this sadness, this grief, this emptiness, fill this void that was inside of me. So I sat on my bed and I closed my eyes. And I wasn't really taking, I suppose I wasn't very present because there was so much going on in my head. But where I was stuck was memories. I was stuck in the what ifs. I was stuck in the future that I thought I was going to have. I was stuck in the past and all the words that were spoken and all the promises that were made and all that I wasn't getting. This wasn't my reality anymore. So I sat there and I just asked, what is my biggest obstacle? And it was like a divine intervention. It was like a neon light that said, you're lonely. I didn't realize that coming out of my grief, that I still had stuff to get over. I thought I could just feel better. Now I was stupid to think I could just feel better. And anybody that has suffered grief, no, you can't just feel better. It's a process. It takes time. It's a journey. It's a journey you have to understand, like every other journey in your life. And I started to cry. I didn't. I started to sob. Uncontrollably sob, as in, do you know the sobbing that you see in movies where people slide down the walls, where you can't breathe? The sobs are so big that you can't catch your breath. I was sobbing. I was choking on the realization that I was smothering and suffocating under loneliness and grief. The realization of it was like, oh my God. Is that it? I'm lonely? No, that couldn't be it. But that was it for that part of my journey. That was just that part. Because I had accepted where I was, but I still couldn't move forward. So I made friends with my loneliness, every time I got that overwhelming feeling, I would speak the words and say, hey, loneliness, I can see you. Sit next to me. We'll do it together. Because there was no point saying, oh yeah, it's grand. I can just get that thought out of my head. It would be fine. I can get rid of that. It's grand. Don't worry about it. No, it's not that easy. It's a battle. It's a struggle. It's a journey. It's a day by day stepping, placing those steps very carefully every single day so you don't fall through another crack and end up in that black hole that you were suffocating in. That's not where you want to be. Because all you're doing is recycling the same worries, the same thoughts, the same sadness, and you're getting more and more and more of what you're focusing on. I didn't realise that at the time, obviously. And I don't even think, looking back now that I'm connecting the dots, I still don't even think I could have stopped it. I now know that it has brought me to where I am. I now know that it was a lesson that had to teach me so that I could teach other people. But I didn't understand it at the time. And I don't think anybody understands grief. And you get so bloody angry at the fact that you're so sad all of the time. You're so angry because the people that you want to speak to are not in front of you. The people that you need answers from are not in front of you. You're stuck in a situation, in a cycle, in a hamster wheel where you have no answers. And you're so angry. But you have to accept where you are so that you can move forward. You have to accept it. So I made friends with my loneliness. I don't know at what point it subsided for me. I think it was more... So I'm talking, this would have been around, so 2013, 2014, 2015, my healing didn't start until 2018. So I don't really know in around there where I started to actually come forward. But I do know my breaking point in 2018 when I had the breakdown. And I didn't have a breakdown like other people. I had trained already to be a life coach, and I was very aware that I wasn't well. I was very aware. I locked myself away from everybody. I kept myself safe. I turned off my phone. I went to bed early. I did all of the stuff that I knew I had to do for me at the time. But that cycle took that long for me. I can't say for anybody else that it'll only take. They do say that grief has like a 5-year cycle, and I can see that now, that it definitely took me 5 years. Definitely took me 5 years before I came full circle and I started to understand me, and I started to really focus on who I was, what I wanted to attract into my life from that point, and I definitely didn't want to sit in this space again. I'm not saying that I'm never going to meet grief again. I am. And I know I am, because I'm going to lose people, and I'm going to find myself in circumstances that's going to be attached to loss. I am. Am I more prepared for it to come round again? No, nobody is. Nobody. Grief can knock on your door every single day and hit you in a completely different way. Nobody is prepared for grief. But do I now have better tools to help myself? Yes, I do. How fast am I going to get through it? I have no idea. Nor do I want to try to figure that out now. So when you understand grief on your level, not on anybody else's, and anybody that tells you, shouldn't you be over that by now? Tell them fuck off. And I'm sorry for being rude, but if anybody wants to tell you to get over something, tell them fuck off. You've my permission. Because nobody can feel your pain, and you are entitled to feel your pain so that you can understand it, you can accept it, so that you can move forward for you in the right way. So if you're thinking about somebody and it's causing you that sadness, that overwhelming sadness, and you just have all of these memories going through your mind, try to focus on the good ones. Try to focus on the good ones. And that's another thing about it. You don't really want to be thinking about the situation because you're so deep in that grief, but you still don't want to forget the memories. Keep the memories and try to focus on something good that happened. Leave all the bad stuff flow behind you. You can't change any of that. It's not for you. Focus on the lesson and focus on who you want to be at the end of this. Read, listen, learn, study, do whatever you need to do for you, but try your best to understand it and accept it so that you can move forward. You may never really understand it fully. I don't really understand it fully. I just understand that I got better, and I understand that I had to get better. Because in the middle of all of this, I had a little girl that was depending on me. I also had my mother on my shoulder who was holding me up for most of it. But I had a little girl that was depending on me. So I had to get through it. And some days I was emotionally, a lot of days, I was emotionally unavailable to her. But that was the best that I could do on that day. I couldn't do any better. But I make it up for it now. My only blessing is that I'm hoping that she was young enough that she didn't feel it at the same level. But I know she has memories of it. I know she does. But that's not where we are now. Where we are now is focusing on the good. Where we are now is understanding everything that comes into our lives on a level where you can move forward. Nobody's asking you to be perfect. Nobody's asking you to be okay. Nobody's expecting you to just get on with it or get over it. You may never get over it, but you'll understand it on some level. I hope this has helped somebody today. I don't talk about it very often because I don't like to live in that space. I said that at the start. But hopefully it helps somebody. And this is just from my experience. It may not be your experience. It may not be your experience. You may understand some level of what I was talking about. But I think the part that everybody understands is the level of suffocation from the grief. You don't want to get up out of bed, but you don't want to stay in bed all day. You don't want to talk to anybody, but you don't want to be alone. You want people to distract you, but you don't want to be listening to them because they're annoying you. You don't want to be remembering them because it's too sad, but you don't want to forget the memories. It's a very strange place to be in, but it teaches you an awful lot about yourself. Accept it. Try to understand it at your level. Greet your loneliness and accept the loneliness and make it work for you, because it will work for you once you become friends with it, once you don't get overwhelmed by those emotions. And focus on something good. Anything at all. Focus on something good. It will reward you.